My name is Jimmy Howard Peterson. My rank was Engineman Second Class, Submarine Qualified. I was assigned to the Spinax, USS Spinax, SS-489, and I'd had a choice in sub school of putting in for nuclear power or putting in for, to the diesel electrics, and I had made the decision, just based on what little knowledge I had, that, you know what, I want to go to those, because nuclear power, at that time particularly, was so limited in where they could go and tie up to a pier and get, I mean, at that time there might have been 3 places that they could actually go because of that, and a huge demand in show power when they pulled in. So I put in for the older boats, because we could go anywhere. You could go to any pier they could have water on. If you didn't have any nuclear torpedoes on there, you had security. You didn't have security that was enough that they worried about. So I did. I was assigned to the Spinax, and right after I was on board, they were due to go to overhaul in San Francisco, and so we were dispatched for San Francisco, and I think it wasn't 2 weeks, but it was close to it. We went up there in transit, and the first job that I got stuck on was driving the helm, driving the ship. Well, it's a little different than everything else, because you're in the conning tower, and all you have is your helm. You've got a magnetic compass, and you got a gyro compass, true north, and you got what they call your motor MBTs, which are you have 2 screws, and each one tells the guy in maneuvering what speed they wanted to do them or what direction. Anyway, so you're looking at this wall, these compasses, and I was so sick for that 2 weeks, and I wasn't alone. So I carried a coffee can around, and you didn't have it. You were dry heaving for a week, but after that, I was fine for the most part. Well, some guys were sick more. You know, every time I got rough, some of the guys were sick from San Diego to Japan. I remember one guy, they took him off the boats. But anyway, we spent 6 months in San Francisco at Hunter's Point shipyard, which was a good experience for me, because of course, you're non-qualified when you first come on board. Non-qualified puke, as the term goes, and you weren't anybody's friend, but they were all there to help you, but you know, it was just a mental thing, and it was great, because in the shipyards we got to, when they tore things down, you get to see how the systems work and where they're at, and it was a good experience. I think the biggest thing I remember about being there, that negative thing, is we had a submarine in dry dock. We were still standing topside watch and below decks watch on the submarine. So I was on the topside watch, and that was the coldest winter I could ever remember in my life, standing those watches, the wind coming off the bay. And the one thing I was able to do, they had light cages that the workers used laying around there, and they were like 300-watt light bulbs in this wire cage. If I got 3 or 4 of those and put in my little watch sack, I could actually survive. So that was a pretty interesting experience. Of course, the shock of going to San Francisco after living in a rural town and country, that was pretty interesting. It was enjoyable, but wow, what an education. So after the shipyard overhaul, we went back to San Diego, and then we were then later dispatched to Westpac, Western Pacific Cruise.